Well, the Maritime Union boss, Paddy Crumlin, has fired back and, according to viewers, there's some rather colourful language contained in this interview. Paddy Crumlin, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for coming on. Is the Maritime Union engaging in a campaign of extortion, as the Prime Minister asserts?
Absolutely not. Just the opposite. I mean, there's some of the stories out there. These guys make Donald Trump look like a truth-sayer, you know? I mean, this is absolute nonsense. There's a tiny little bit of an industrial nudge going on after 7 months that they should return to the table and start being reasonable. That's illegal. It was allowed. And that's what you do if one party is negotiating in good faith, and Patrick's aren't.
What is the nature of the industrial action that the wharfies are undertaking at the moment?
They had 1 4-hour stoppage, which is nothing whatsoever, and a few overtime bans. So after a long day, which is probably an hour or two to get to work and an hour or two to get home, and an 8-hour shift, they're not doing overtime. So, but we're still meeting all of our other obligations, you know, 3 8-hour shifts a day, rotational. They're on morning, noon and afternoon and midnight. So we're meeting all of our obligations. All we're doing is pointing out to Patrick's they've got an industrial responsibility to negotiate in good faith after 7 months. So there's absolutely, minimal damage being done by any of this. All there is a massive beat up and I guess a type of bullying. They're bullying their employees, you know, over fake news.
Well, Patrick Terminals says that the industrial action being undertaken by the MUA is crippling their operations, that they're currently operating at about 50% capacity, and that right now there are 90,000 containers at sea around Australia wanting to come into port, but they can't because of the industrial action.
Arrant nonsense. There's 1 ship or 2 ships sitting off Botany, and there is always 2 ships sitting off Botany. The only reason there's a few bottlenecks in Botany is that the company had a maintenance campaign, and through their tremendous maintenance management ability, cut through an electrical cable and shut the joint down for 48 hours. And they've got a software system out there that doesn't work. They can't track containers and can't get the job done. We've had one 4-hour stoppage, which is nothing.
An overtime ban, though.
As I say, fake news. They should. You know what they're doing? They're using COVID as industrial leverage and trying to take the high moral ground.
So
it's absolutely appalling.
Are you disputing now, Paddy Crumlin?
And I'm calling them out on it.
All right, well, are you disputing, Paddy Crumlin, that there are, in fact, 90,000 ships around Australia waiting to come in, 90,000 containers at sea around Australia that can't come into port because of the dispute?
Absolutely fake news, you know, a la Donald Trump. Bullshit. No. There's 1 or 2 ships. There's always been 1 or 2 ships off Botany. That is nonsense. And again, just the company's cynical exercise in using COVID to get industrial leverage in a legitimate negotiation.
But Patrick's has got a map of where these ships are actually located around Australia. Are you saying that that is fake?
Absolutely it is.
The map is
fake,
so there aren't these containers?
I challenge anyone to go have a look at Maruba and have a look at all of these ships. And then they say it's all Botany. It's not true. There are ships on anchor all over the coast, but they're not necessarily going into terminals. They were going into iron ore berth because of bad weather. It's got nothing to do with wharfies. See, this is the beat-up, a complete beat-up and an embarrassment to the people that are running it. It's not true. It is BULL --.
Well, we are hearing from shipping companies themselves, from producers who can't either bring in imports or send out their exports, and they're being charged some serious congestion fees. So there clearly are some problems at the ports right now. Are you disputing that?
No, but at Botany there's a few problems because they don't know how to maintain a modern terminal without stuffing it up in terms of maintenance. They cut through an electrical wire and the place shut down for 48 hours. 48 hours. That they've had software problems where they can't find containers. they are using their own management incompetence to blame Wolfies to get leverage, in a negotiation. That's it. Cynicism, cynical action. They're bad. And they're using all these poor people out there anxious. We are absolutely committed to the supply chain. We offered them at the start of the agreement to roll the agreement over for a minimum wage increase on the status quo, and they rejected it. A week ago, we said that we would not take any action, and they rejected it. They have created this situation, much of their own doing, so that they can embarrass us or attempt to embarrass us with their lies and their distortions, and it is an absolute disgrace.
Okay,
and
well,
the people behind it are disgraceful.
Patrick Terminals says that they offered the union a one-year rollover of the current enterprise agreement with a 2% pay rise, but the union unilaterally shut that down.
Oh, that's nonsense. We offered it to them, and we've offered it to them, in other ways subsequently, and they've roundly rejected it. That is it's like arguing with them. It's like arguing with Donald Trump. I've been the National Secretary since the Patrick dispute 22 years ago. I've never come across a crew like this. We negotiated with DP World, and we did it honestly and fairly. Took 2 years to get a 4-year agreement, and no one got in the gutter. That's the first place these people go, to go out there and use COVID. It's an absolute disgrace.
Are you saying...
An absolute disgrace. We offered the rollover. And they rejected it and continue to reject it.
Are you seeing shades of the 1998 waterfront dispute in this current dispute, Paddy Crumlin?
None whatsoever. One 4-hour dispute, it's like a hiccup. It's like indigestion. It's nothing. All we want to do is get an agreement and move on. We've got one of the most productive workplaces in the world, and I'm proud of that, and my members are proud of it. You know what they're doing? They're turning their employees into the enemies. Did they tell you they've got 30 pages of things that they want to take away? Predictability in rosters, family time, trade union training, any say in a whole bunch of areas, that gives dignity and involvement in occupational health and safety. Did they tell you that?
Well, these are the
30 pages.
These are the conditions,
they are looking
obviously,
for
negotiation.
A dispute.
All right, well, Paddy Crumlin, can we get to the dispute that's going to come before the Fair Work Commission this week? Are you expecting the Fair Work Commission to side with Patrick's and terminate the MUA industrial action?
No, not at all. I mean, we're just bargaining in good faith.
So is this just negotiations over an enterprise bargaining agreement?
Action. Yeah, well, that's what you do. You go through it. We waited for 7 months. We were happy to roll over. We're not looking for a fight. We're looking to keep the country going. They're looking to get leverage out of COVID. That's all.
Okay, but a 6% pay rise. A 6% pay rise over 4 years, though, that's a pretty hefty pay rise, considering particularly now we are in a recession and wages certainly aren't increasing.
But it's not true. We offered a 2.5% increase over 12 months in a rollover. They put 30 pages of taking conditions away that exist in the agreement, and all we did, it's a bargaining, it's a negotiation, and again, it's the false news. They came back and said, well, here's 30 pay. We want this, we want this, we want this, then we want that, then we want this, then we want this, and we said, well, then you could pay 5% a year.
All right.
We don't want those things to go. They're in the agreement. We're happy to sit down and negotiate those outcomes.
Okay, well, the government
the Australian people, and you guys have been set up by this cynicism. It is absolutely not true. And if they took the 30 pages away, we'll talk about rolling it over.
Okay, well, look, the government now...
They've rejected it once, and now they're lying about it.
Paddy Crumlin, the government now is intervening in this dispute and it's backing Patrick's. Are you surprised the government intervened?
No, not really. I mean, the government got a responsibility to come in and make the joint, and, they've got a case.
Okay.
We're happy. We want to keep the country going. We told them a week ago, even if there was a problem through their own maintenance incompetence and management, we would keep any cargoes moving. We would do whatever we had to do. You know what they said? They sent us a letter saying, go and get stuffed,
Well, where does this all end then? So we know that at the moment there are problems with imports and exports. Are we heading for a showdown? Are we heading for a showdown between the government and the MUA?
Not at all. I'll say it again. These people are misrepresentation. They are, lying and misrepresenting the position to get leverage out of COVID in a medical. We have done nothing. We have not held up any container. We had a 4-hour stoppage, being misrepresented up to the hilt. They're a disgrace. It is a disgrace.
All right,
and
Paddy.
They need to be exposed for it. None of the other stevedores are doing it. We've reached agreements and we will reach agreements, and we'll do it in a highly functional. I've been the National Secretary for 22 years. We got the most productive waterfront in the world. These people have turned up 3 years ago. They took $18 million out of JobKeeper and paid themselves $10 million in bonuses. Fact.
Right,
That's
well, Paddy Crumlin,
that's not fake news.
It looks like there is no end to this standoff. We've sadly run out of time, but thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, we're working today. We'll work tomorrow. We'll work the next day. We'll continue to work. All they've got to do is start lying straight in bed.
All right, Paddy Crumlin, thank you.
Thank you.